This is Rick Harsh, um, chief editor of Books and author of Manifold Destiny of Eddie Vegas and a few other books. And I'm here to talk about Jim Gauer's novel Explosives, which I just finished today after, well, I don't remember how long it's been, but I've not had a lot of time to read lately, and I've been reading this, and it's one of those books that, among other things, is intensely absorbing. And also, what made me decide to do this tonight were two things. One thing is, in the book, he's got a lot about mental illness, and not a lot of mentally ill people, unless you consider everybody mentally ill, which is not so far from the truth. And the situation on Earth would suggest as much. I don't know if he means to suggest that, but he does mean to say that something is deeply wrong, and he does a fantastic job of getting that across without that seeming to be any part of his main focus, because it's a very digressive novel and a pleonastic novel. I just learned that word, pleonasm, which is basically saying something in way more words than you need to, either intentionally, as in this book, or when you babble like I do on a book review. But I have the monkey here because he's suffering from semiantic plantar fascistic dyskinesia, and I thought maybe just a little, little love while talking to other people would cure him of it. There are many terms like that in this book. Most of them have cures, but we're not sure which are which, because when that is discussed, it's not always clear if the two people who are talking about it are really sure that that's the best thing. There's a physician's desk reference, and you probably, there are certain situations in which you want that to be in the hands of a medically educated person. I don't know if this is one or not, but here's one thing I was thinking about this novel. It's so gripping and engrossing and penetrating that I picked up a book today, and it was a big mistake. I won't say which book it was, but it just seemed light, trite, meaningless, and it's not a bad book. That's why I'm not going to mention it, because it's not. I'm not talking about Dan Brown. I'm talking about just a very, very good writer, as opposed to one of the best writers I've encountered in, I don't know, maybe my lifetime. It's a maximalist novel, and maximalist novels have friends and enemies. Friends are just madly in love with what they can do. Enemies are generally misconceiving the notion, based largely on the fact that grouping a bunch of novels together and calling them all the same thing is never really a very accurate reflection of what those novels are. But if there's anything important about maximalism, it's that they deliver to the reader something that the reader has never been delivered before. We've seen that recently with The Cult of the Cactus Boots, which has found an extraordinary hunger for what it has to say. And we've gone into that before, so I won't go into it here, but this is one of those books that is is it takes over the psyche of the novel reader, and me in this case, and I'm I think I've thought of several different ways of reviewing it in a relatively short period of time, because if I try to do an overview of the book, I'm not going to do it justice, and I won't do it justice anyway. So if I do it short, then you'll say, well, there's no way to do it justice in 10 minutes. So, but I thought, okay, let's say we have the idea for the book, the general idea for the book, and we're pitching it in Hollywood. 'Cause we don't want to take the time to write a book. It's a 700-page book. It's pretty dense, although it's easy to read. That's a conundrum. But then again, most books are actually a lot easier to read than people think. The thing that makes books like this seem more difficult to read is because they defy your expectations, and you're led to believe that something is going to happen, and maybe it is, but not the way you think it's going to happen, and not in the time frame that you imagined. So, but sentence by sentence, yeah, you're going to read a lot of things you absolutely have no idea about and don't have time to learn about. But trust the narrator. That's what he's there for. He's not telling you one narrator, the main narrator, I guess. I think he narrates most of enough of the book anyway, is the venture capitalist in California, who doesn't open the book, but whose narrative begins earlier than the others. He talks a lot about the world of finance. He talks about it's a great lesson in how to launder money in here. I think this would be the place to start if you're going to do something like that on a high level. I think there's genuine information in here, expert information. But you don't have to take that all in and take notes. You're not going to be tested on that. That's not what you're going to be tested on is what it all means, and that's something that you're going to be testing yourself on afterwards. I'm way far from determining that myself, but I'm still in the grip of this thing. It's a book that changes your way of thinking for some period of time. I don't know how long, but it's that penetrating of a book, and it's an extremely good excoriation of what human beings have done up to this point in time. But anyway, about the how to pitch the novel. Hey, I got an idea. We got a guy who wakes up in Guanajuato, Mexico, and he's got amnesia. And Memento. We saw that movie. Yeah, no, but just wait. That's just one thing. It's not just anyone. He wakes up. He doesn't know who he is, but he finds out that he's one of the heteronyms of Fernando Pessoa and Alvaro de Campos, and an actual poet who was created wholly by, maybe he wasn't homunculized, maybe he wasn't put in a jar, but he was created and with his own personality reflected in his poetry, in his biography, and so on. That's who this guy, his wallet, identifies him as. He wakes up having been hit in the head. Okay, so it's not like Memento. It's more of a literary thing. Literary thing, okay. Yeah, but wait, get this. There's also a drug cartel. I'm listening. Okay. Now, the venture capitalist in Los Angeles, he's writing a book about himself, his autobiography. He can't get it out. He does get it out though, and he has been laundering money for a cartel, but he didn't know about it. And then we have a third thread. This is the killer. Now we get the killers. The killers are the killer. We get two hitmen from a cartel in El Paso, and they're after a guy with money, and we suspect very early on is this might be the guy in the venture capitalist, But then what about these other people? And things begin to overlap, and and I can tell this story and sell this story to you Hollywood guys, and if you want to novelize it, 120 pages or so. And the movie could be like a 90-minute, bam, everything's done quick. Of course, but this was Gauer's idea, and in his mind, it became 120 plus, 500 more pages. This becomes a 720-page novel, pleonastic, which is, such a beautiful word, and riveting, utterly riveting, and brilliant, and is one of the best books. I found an old recording that I made around the New Year, in which I said that this would be one of the best books I read this year. I guess I thought at that time I was going to be buying it sooner, and just a few weeks ago, I was tipped a little bit of extra money by one of my readers, and it was enough to buy this. And I said, okay, I got to finally fucking buy it. I've been wanting to read that for a long time, since I first heard about it a year and a half ago, and it's got some of the best writing you'll ever read in there. One of the great things that he does here is, I wouldn't say he corrupts your expectations, but he may be corrupting your expectations by subjecting them to philosophical scrutiny. That's something that I would have to think about, because there's this one great scene that takes place, and it's a classic scene of tension and violence, and there are a bunch of people, it's a complicated situation. There are a bunch of people on different sides. Okay, yeah, he'll be okay. Just burp him a little bit. Just get that dyskinesia, and there are these people inside the house, and there's a sort of a standoff, and then there's people outside the house, and it's all very complicated. And what's the most hilarious about it to me, and the most fantastic thing about it to me, is that we have been reading about some of these people in the future, like a few days later, because the venture capitalists part starts on Monday, and the hitmen, they start on Wednesday the same week, and the Alvaro de Campos wakes up on Friday, and so his time in Guanajuato and the characters he meets there, some of them are in that room, and I hope that's not a spoiler. I don't think this book is spoilable, but you're brought to this point of extreme tension, and then you have to realize that, but wait a minute, I've already read it, it's going to work out for at least this one, and one of them is the narrator, venture capitalist as narrator, and so we have to care about him because we got to get the book finished, and so we do care about him, but we don't know how he's going to get out of that situation, but we know that he does, and we know that he comes out of it in Guanajuato with a headache and loss of memory, and various fun stuff ensues, but not without extraordinary explanations of everything technical. Everything, everything is described in minute detail, or technical detail, not minute detail, technical detail. But it's also poetic. I mean, the Follow the Crows. If you're wondering, is this going to be a poetic book as well? And I think, this time that they spend in the room, a lot of this happens in the last 100 pages, and I think that's one of the best 100 pages of writing I've ever read. And there are long stretches of writing in which it's called the clock house that they're in, Casa Cronometro, and so there's a clock, or more than one clock, but there's one clock they're repeatedly pointing to, and and long periods pass, maybe 30 pages pass, and when we check the clock, only 7 minutes have passed, or 2 seconds in some cases. It's an astonishing feat, and I just want to mention one other thing. That one of the people in that room is wrapped up in packing tape, and the guy who wants to help him gets the upper hand long enough to help him, and he directs this woman to go over and take the packing tape off. And at that moment, I think this is the best laugh I got in the whole book. At that moment, after reading 650 pages, and I'm tense in many different ways, and I'm gripped, and I'm enthralled. I'm in a different world in this, in the best possible way that a novel can do that to you. I'm transported, and then this woman is going over to get him unwrapped so he could help his friend, whatever, and but it's really good packing tape, and it's brief, but it's hilarious. He uses that to point out the ubiquitous nature of the irritation, the frustration of being unable to open something because you're trying to pick at it, and you need something better, but you're just trying to pick at it, and that frustration. I got that frustration, and well, that was the funniest moment in the book. Yeah, I don't know. People say things like, definitely in my top 5, definitely in my top 10. This is one of the great books I've read. I don't know. I'll put it in the top 10 for sure. Second time through, too. I will. I'm sure of it. Great book.